It was a classic episode of The Andy Griffith Show. Sheriff Andy Taylor was out of town. Everything should have been okay. But it seems like anytime Andy left Mayberry, things went better when the town was on autopilot. I mean, there was the one time when Andy left, Deputy Barney Fife arrested the entire town. Remember that episode? For one reason or the other. In one episode, this is another episode, Andy left town and Barney deputized Gomer. The two were walking down the street in the evening and they noticed someone was robbing the town's bank. They hid behind a car. They were scared out of their wits. They didn't know what to do. Finally, Gomer looked at Barney and said, "Shazam, we need to call the police." Well, in classic look on his face, Barney turned to Gomer and said, "We are the police." You know, in the church, I think we would do well to remember that story. Remember that story the next time we look around and say, "Hey, I wonder where so-and-so is. Somebody should call her." Well, friends, we are the church. And if we notice something, we should respond. Maybe that somebody is, well, it's me. Or you might have you noticed that the sidewalk out front of the building, notice how bad it looks? Somebody should pressure wash that. We are the church. Man, our Wednesday night class is just boring. We need a class. We need a class for, well, take your pick. Somebody should organize that. We are the church. Now, all of this idea is going to come together in our study tonight. We return to the story of Nehemiah, and it's time to begin building the wall. We have learned so much in the last couple of weeks about prayer and planning and working with people. There was a long time, I have to admit to you, I love the book of Nehemiah. And if you know me, you know that. But there was a long time that if I was teaching the book of Nehemiah, that I would just pass over chapter 3. The reason I would do that goes straight from chapter 2 to chapter 4. Well, it's because it's just names and places. More than 3 dozen names are mentioned. More than 3 dozen places are mentioned. Where's the lesson in that? And then I saw it. I saw it because every person listed was important to the work. Now, we're going to read the chapter. I'm going to read the chapter. I'm going to attempt to read the chapter. The whole thing, one setting, then we're just going to go back and talk about it. So this could end up being a bloopers reel. I hope not. I've practiced this. I've studied these names. And let's just see how it goes. Nehemiah chapter 3, beginning in verse 1. Eliashib, the high priest, and his fellow priests went to work and rebuilt the sheep gate. They dedicated it and set its doors in place, building as far as the Tower of the 100, which they dedicated, and as far as the Tower of Hananel. The men of Jericho built the adjoining section, and Zakur, son of Imri, built next to them. The fish gate was rebuilt by the sons of Hassanah. They laid its beams and put its doors and bolts and bars in place. Meremoth, son of Uriah, the son of Hakaz, repaired the next section. Next to him, Meshullam, son of Bechariah, the son of Meshezabel, made repairs. And next to him, Zadok, son of Bana, also made repairs. The next section was repaired by the men of Tekoa, but their nobles would not put their shoulders to the work under their supervisors. The Jeshanah gate was repaired by Joadah, son of Paseah, and Meshullam, son of Besodiah. They laid its beams and put its doors with its bolts and bars in place. Next to them, repairs were made by men from Gibeon and Mizpah, Melatiah of Gibeon and Jadon of Meronoth, places under the authority of the governor of Trans-Euphrates. Uzziel, son of Harahiah, one of the goldsmiths, repaired the next section. And Hananiah, one of the perfume makers, made repairs next to that. They restored Jerusalem as far as the broad wall. Rephaiah, son of Hur, ruler of the half district of Jerusalem, repaired the next section. Adjoining this, Jediah, son of Heramoth, made repairs opposite his house. And Hattush, son of Hashabaniah, made repairs next to them. Malchijah, son of Haram, and Hashab, son of Pahath Moab, repaired another section and the tower of the ovens. Shalom, son of Halohesh, ruler of the half district of Jerusalem, repaired the next section with the help of his daughters. The valley gate was repaired by Hanan and the residents of Zanoah. They repaired it and put its doors with their bolts and bars in place. They also repaired 1,000 cubits of the wall as far as the dung gate. The dung gate was repaired by Malchijah, son of Reba, son of the district of Beth Hakerem. He rebuilt it and put its doors with their bolts and bars in place. The fountain gate was repaired by Shallun, son of Kol-Hosea, ruler of the district of Mizpah. He rebuilt it, roofing it over and putting its doors and bolts and bars in place. He also repaired the wall of the pool of Siloam by the king's garden, as far as the steps going down from the city of David. Beyond him, Nehemiah, son of Azbuk, ruler of the half district of Beth-zur, made repairs to a point opposite the tombs of David as far as the artificial pool and the house of the heroes. Next to him, the repairs were made by the Levites under Rahum, son of Bani. Beside him, Hashabiah, ruler of the half district of Keilah, carried out repairs for his district. Next to him, the repairs were made by their fellow Levites under Benui, son of Henadad, ruler of the other half district of Keilah. Next to him, Ezer, son of Jeshua, ruler of Mizpah, repaired another section from a point facing the ascent to the armory as far as the angle of the wall. Next to him, Baruch, son of Zabbai, zealously repaired another section from the angle to the entrance of the house of Eliashib, the high priest. Next to him, Meremoth, son of Uriah, the son of Hakaz, repaired another section from the entrance of Eliashib's house to the end of it. The repairs next to him were made by the priests from the surrounding region. Beyond them, Benjamin and Hashab made repairs in front of their house, and next to them, Azariah, son of Maaseiah, son of Hananiah, made repairs beside his house. Next to him, Benui, son of Henadad, repaired another section from Azariah's house to the angle and around the corner. And Palal, son of Uzai, worked opposite the angle and the tower projecting from the upper palace near the court of the guard. Next to him, Pedaiah, son of Parash, and the temple servants living on the hill of Ophel made their repairs up to a point opposite the water gate toward the east and the projecting tower. Next to them, the men of Tekoa repaired another section from the great projecting tower to the wall of Ophel. Above the horse gate, the priests made repairs, each in front of his own house. Next to them, Zadok, son of Immer, made repairs opposite his house. Next to him, Shemaiah, son of Shechaniah, the guard at the east gate, made repairs. Next to him, Hanani, son of Shelemiah, and Hanun, the sixth son of Zalaphah, repaired another section. Next to them, Meshullam, son of Bechariah, made repairs opposite his living quarters. Next to him, Malchijah, one of the goldsmiths, made repairs as far as the house of the temple servants and the merchants opposite the inspection gate, and as far as the room above the corner. And between the room above the corner and the sheep gate, the goldsmiths and merchants made repairs. After reading all of that, I guess our first question is, why? Why would it be important to include this detailed list of names and places in the story of Nehemiah, in the Bible? We could easily see that such a list could be very important to Nehemiah in the planning stage of the project, beforehand, of laying it out, who would work where. It would be also important in the work stage of the project. But why? Why is it important on the historical end for the names and the sections of the wall to be recorded? Generations to come to go back and to read that like we have tonight. Tonight we're going to look at 3 reasons, because I believe this chapter reminds us to accomplish God's purpose, we need a common vision, dedicated leaders, and willing workers. Our first point, to accomplish God's purpose, we need a common vision. This might be the easiest part of the lesson, but we can't overlook it. We cannot work together if each of us has a different idea of what we are trying to accomplish. Nehemiah challenged the remnant in Jerusalem to come together to build a wall. What was the purpose of the wall? Well, a wall provided defense, security against their enemies. Many of us have fences in our yard. I know there is a fence in my yard. It's put up some 30 years ago, and it was so that the family could have a dog. The fence was designed to keep the dog in the yard. Some of you have fences surrounding your gardens, and that is to keep deer and other animals out. Some of our friends have solid fences of plastic, wood, or even brick. Those fences allow a homeowner to enjoy a greater sense of privacy. Because the remnant in Jerusalem understood the goal of the wall, they were able to work together. Because without that wall, they were helpless against an enemy's attack. The wall provided protection. When we turn our attention from the wall of Jerusalem to the mission of the New Testament church today, unfortunately, it seems like this common vision at times can crumble. There are many in the church today that would believe it, and I know that you're going to want to disagree with this, but hear me out. I believe that there are many in the church today that believe that the end goal is to come together on Sunday mornings for worship. The end. At least that is what, at times, I would suggest to you that attendance, involvement, and commitment might suggest. The attitude is this, is that if as long as we sing, pray, study, gather around the table, and give, all is well. Now, is worship important? Yes. Is it commanded? Yes. Is it part of our mission as a church? Yes. Is that all? No. Others would suggest that our end goal is to take care of each other. Now, I think that we have a need to take care of each other. I think that we have a need to go out and do good. But don't miss it. All of these things are important because they represent who we are. We are a people who recognize God as the Lord God Almighty, our Creator, and that is why we worship Him. We also recognize how important it is to live with compassion and care and concern for others, and that's why we want to serve. We also understand this. We have a mission. Now, even the Oxford Dictionary picks up on this. They define mission as, this is interesting, the calling of a religious organization, especially a Christian one, to go out into the world and spread its faith. Want to know why we struggle in the church today? Because we, at times, perhaps even often, we lack a common vision for the church. And it's to understand how all of these parts come together. But to understand the Great Commission is just that. It is the Great Commission. To go and make disciples of all nations. That begins at home and spreads out from there. You see, we have to have this common goal. Now, there's a second thing. In order to accomplish God's purpose, we need dedicated leaders who help us move toward that goal. Here's the thing that I have consistently, over the last few years, I have consistently found this to be true in this chapter. Nehemiah was a difference maker. The people who had built this wall, many of them had been living in Jerusalem. Some had been there for years. They never left. But the wall didn't get built until Nehemiah stepped up as a leader. Now, I love this. Nehemiah's name is not mentioned in the chapter. There is a Nehemiah mentioned in chapter 3, verse 16. We don't believe that to be the same Nehemiah. A lot of people are mentioned, and they are given credit for the work they did. That is a sign of a great leader. That gets us to this key point in this section. A good leader will not mind when others get the credit. Bear Bryant, that legendary coach for the University of Alabama, had a theory when it came to coaching college football. The Fordyce, Arkansas native used to say, if anything goes bad, I did it. If anything goes semi-good, we did it. But if anything goes real good, then you did it. Bryant would always point the spotlight to his players and his team. Want to be a great leader? Then point the spotlight to others when things go well. So a leader will not mind when others get the credit. A second thing, a leader must motivate people. The people that have been there for years. Nehemiah was the one that motivated them to do this good work. And there's something special about that. Did you notice in the chapter? Not everyone could be motivated. Chapter 3, verse 5, that's one of the places where the nobles didn't put their hand to the plow. They didn't put their hand to the job. But there were others who were put in place. Why? Because they had a heart to serve. An example would be the priest that worked to restore, to rebuild the sheep gate. That's where the sacrifices to the temple would have been brought in. Now, there's a lot of listing of others that worked near their homes, but the point is a leader has to be able to motivate people and take those who are motivated and put them in a place where they can succeed. That brings us to another point about a good leader. A good leader must plan and organize. What would have happened if Nehemiah had said in chapter 2, Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. A lot of people show up, but he had no plan. He had no resources. It would have been a short-lived effort, and it would have been a disaster. There are a lot of churches today, doesn't matter, I think, the size, but I know a lot of churches our size will often talk about how the fact that we don't have enough workers. For a moment, let's agree. Don't have enough workers. What if next Lord's Day, 10 people walked into the doors of our building and came up and said, I'm ready to work? Would we have a meaningful ministry where they could get involved? That is something we need to always have available. I think about those that have talked about that we always want to have an empty chair for the person that comes to class, for the person that comes to the auditorium to worship with us. We always want to have room for that one person that comes in. In the same sense, when it comes to ministry, we always want to have spaces available for people to look at their task and their interests, their skill sets, and give them a place where they can serve. Another point about good leaders. A good leader must delegate. Nehemiah could not do the job by himself. This project was huge. In the church today, I'm noticing a trend. It's been around for a while, but it's the Lone Ranger mentality. It is the tendency to do the job alone. Friends, that severely limits the potential of the church. What we find more often in Scripture is people working together as a group, like Nehemiah chapter 3, or as Jesus sent out the group in the Gospels, going out 2 by 2. But people went and worked together. If we are going to do anything in the church today, here's the question we need to ask. How could I involve one other person in this work? How could I involve one other person in this work? Another point about a good leader. A good leader must oversee. That does not mean that a leader micromanages, but we want to see how one piece of the puzzle fits together in the entire puzzle. The best thing that some churches can do is stop doing some things. Because at times there are things that may have one time have had an effectiveness, but now they're no longer effectiveness. They don't fit in the mission of the church. They don't fit in that overall picture. And that's something we need to look at continually as we look at ministries. Is this effective today? That's not to suggest that we don't need to work and get people involved in it. What it is to say, though, is that some things had a season. Some things had a season. A leader must give proper recognition. Nehemiah's context for this chapter, it's perfect. Man, people have been discouraged, but they stepped up for this good work. And the best thing Nehemiah could have done is to let them know, I know your name, and your work matters. I know your name, and your work matters. And then a leader must not get distracted by those who don't want to cooperate. We cannot get caught up in who is not working. We can't get caught up in those that don't want to put their hand to the task. We do need to encourage those who are giving effort. Encourage those who are giving effort. Don't get distracted by those who don't want to cooperate. Now, that's a lot to be said about a leader. If you need that list, remember, I've provided that list about good leaders as part of your outline that has been emailed, that was available at the church this morning for the handout for this lesson. If you need a copy of that, be sure to email me. I'd be glad to pass that along to you. You can email us at maul, that's M-A-U-L, maulroadchurch@gmail.com. Now, we've got a third point to make. To accomplish this task, we need a common goal. We need good leaders who will organize, motivate, encourage, and lead. Then the final point is, to accomplish God's purpose, we need willing workers who will do their part. I cannot help but notice as I read that chapter again, how the people cooperated with one another. Each person's work connected to the others. Their work complemented each other. That means they didn't necessarily all do the same thing, but they brought out the best in others. Some people, I'm firmly convinced, worked outside their wheelhouse. Perfume makers worked. In some families, the daughters were right in the middle of the most difficult work. Nehemiah made sure we knew that. And for the job to be completed, some had to do undesirable work. Melchijah, son of Rechab, that is in Nehemiah chapter 3, verse 14. Perhaps he is one that deserves the spotlight. He is the one who repaired the dung gate. That was basically the gate that led to the city dump. Not the most glamorous job, but a necessary one. We need people who are willing to work and willing to work together. There's a story told about some Western missionaries in a remote area of the Philippine Islands. They set up this croquet game in their front yard, and several of the neighbors, they became interested. The missionary explained the rules. They gave each one a mallet and a ball and got them going. As the game progressed, opportunity came for one of the players to take advantage of another by knocking that person's ball out of the court. So the missionary explained the procedure, but his advice puzzled his Filipino friend. The friend asked, "Why would I want to knock his ball out of the court?" Well, the missionary said, "So you can win." But the native shook his head in bewilderment. In that hunting and gathering society, people survived not by competing, but by sharing equally in every activity. It was part of their fabric, of their DNA, if you will. So here's the thing, the game continued. No one followed the missionary's advice. Now, when a player successfully got through all of the wickets, the game wasn't over for him. He went back and he gave aid, he gave advice, he helped his fellow players. This was great. As the final player moved toward the last wicket, the game still was very much a team effort. And so when that last play was made, the whole group shouted happily, "We won! We won!" I'd love to see that attitude grow and grow and grow in the church. And that is where we have that common goal, where we have effective leaders, and we have those who are willing to work. We work together. We're working toward this common goal. And in the end, when all is said and done, when everything is put in place, when God gets the glory for the good that's been done, when we look together at our church family, our conclusion is this: we won. God gets the glory. We won.